It has been an absolutely insane weekend in the technology and artificial intelligence world. And something that actually has gotten overlooked with everything that's going on with OpenAI is the fact that Kyle Vogt, who is the CEO of Cruise, the autonomous driving company, a majority owned subsidiary of General Motors, a business that they had a ton of hope in for the future, resigned over the weekend. The timing is a little bit interesting because he resigned just as his co-founder from Twitch was announced as the CEO of OpenAI. We don't know the full story. I think that is the one thing that we have learned over the last few days is that with everything going on, nobody knows all of the pieces and all of the reasons, the things that are going on. But we do know that the leader and the co-founder is leaving the company at a really critical time for the company. So opens up a lot of questions, especially if Cruise is central to your investment thesis in General Motors, like it is for me. That's why I want to go through exactly what we know in the context of how to think about this from General Motors, because GM has not responded yet, which I think is a little bit curious given how important this company is to General Motors' future. So I'm going to get into all of that today. My name is Travis Hoium. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And I'm going to take a 10-second break to show you this video's sponsor. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Now, often Twitter is not the best place to source information, but when it comes directly from the person involved, I think it's a pretty reliable source. So this is the full tweet thread, 5 tweets from Kyle Vogt saying he resigned as CEO of Cruise after starting the company 10 years ago, was proud of everything that was built, and cheered on the company's future and said that there's a lot of work to do, but still believes in the future of autonomous driving. Now, we could read into that a whole bunch of different ways, but the real takeaway is that he's out as CEO, and definitely something happened behind the scenes. 2 things that I think are curious given Vogt's resignation. This is all of the news coming from General Motors, their official press releases. They have not said anything, and they likely would have before the market opened on Monday if they were going to today. The same thing goes for Cruise. Actually, Vogt is listed as the CEO if you go to their About page. Still listed as CEO, CTO, president, and co-founder. So they have not updated anything either. It seems like this was a move that happened rather abruptly and caught a lot of people off guard. Now, I want to go through a couple of things here to note why this is so important and why I think this is a really big news item for investors who are invested in Cruise or have any sort of stake in the company. This is from the second quarter 2023 earnings report. GM expected 50% compound annual growth rate in software and new line businesses by 2030, while Cruise was targeting annual revenue of $50 billion by 2030. $50 billion is a huge number, and Cruise was really starting to follow up on this. As of about a month and a half ago, they were operational or mapping in 15 cities in the US and had announced plans to expand into Japan. So their scaling was happening extremely quickly. And everything changed in early October when there was a hit and run accident. A human driver actually hit a person, who then flew into a Cruise vehicle and then was dragged 20 feet. That is according to even Cruise's details of the incident. So those are things that we know right now. So that started a number of different changes for Cruise. One is that eventually California pulled their permits for commercial operations so they could still drive vehicles around with a safety driver in place. This is from less than a week ago. Cruise actually announced that they were going to pull all of their vehicles from roads and do a number of things from a corporate standpoint, adding a chief administrative officer, retaining experts in comprehensive safety management, expanding Exponent, who was going to be a consultant to investigate the October 2nd incident. They were going to expand their purview, and they paused operations, both supervised and manual operations, said that they were going to potentially be doing some testing on closed courses, but wouldn't be testing on public roads. So this all happened about a week ago, and this is really, as investors, all we have known since then. Now, there has been reporting over the weekend that Kyle Vogt sent an email to staff, I believe it was Saturday, apologizing for his role in everything that has happened and taking responsibility for the position that Cruise was currently in. And about 24 hours later, he resigned as CEO. So what we don't know is if General Motors was involved in pushing him out. I tend to lean towards no right now, given the fact that General Motors didn't announce anything after that, didn't announce a new CEO, didn't say anything about his departure. It seemed like that was some sort of a surprise coming from Vogt himself. We also don't know what the future of Cruise is going to be. Right now, their vehicles are not on the roads. We don't have a clear path forward, at least from the outside. We know that regulators gave them some things that they needed to remedy before they could get back on roads in California. But what did they find in the meantime? What sort of safety defects did they find? What sort of internal policy management defects did they find? Was there something about the structure of the company or the way it was built that ultimately led to the CEO leaving, the co-founder leaving, after all of these vehicles were pulled from roads? This is what we simply don't know. And given the fact that General Motors just a few months ago said that they see a $50 billion per year revenue opportunity in Cruise, I think this is a massive deal. Remember that Cruise's technology is also making its way into GM's vehicles. So there is a lot up in the air here, and we don't have a lot of answers to it. I think it's interesting that as I'm recording early on Monday morning, General Motors stock was up slightly. So this tells you a couple of things. One, Cruise did not have a lot of value in General Motors stock price. I don't think that's surprising to anyone. There was an analyst on the third quarter conference call that asked about unlocking some of that value because it didn't seem like there was any value in shares for Cruise, and maybe even negative value. So that may actually be the case. If GM said that they were going to shut down Cruise tomorrow and not have that cash burn, it's possible that the stock would go up, because from a short-term cash flow standpoint, it would be positive for the business. With that said, like I said earlier, one of the theses that I have for General Motors is that their stake in Cruise could ultimately be the biggest piece of value in the company. If Cruise was able to build an autonomous ride-sharing fleet that could generate $50 billion in revenue, and we were on a path towards that, then that would be a massively valuable company. Think about how valuable Uber is, but now take out the drivers. Allow those vehicles to operate about 20 to 22 hours a day when they're not being charged. Allow them to operate 24 hours a day. I think the financial potential for this business is just tremendous, but you have to get the technology right. And it seems like there is something amiss there at Cruise, and we just frankly don't know what it is right now. I'm expecting to hear something from General Motors specifically this week, because when the CEO and somebody who was previously on your conference calls leaves as an executive, we need to hear something from General Motors. From Cruise itself, I think we need to hear what the plan forward is, because if you're an investor and this is part of your investment thesis, right now we're kind of stuck in the lurch. So a lot going on, and we still don't really know why Kyle Vogt left outside of what he said in his statement, that he was going to spend some time with family and think about what he was going to do next. Was this a rash decision and he was going to go to OpenAI? We don't know, but there is definitely upheaval at Cruise. For General Motors, I think that changes the investment thesis for a lot of us. And the autonomous driving business just continues to go through ups and downs. This is definitely a down for the industry. It may take time, but it's also possible that we come out for the better for this, that there's better governance, better safety, better disclosures with regulators and with the public. So I'm not making any rash decisions about buying or selling stock right now, but definitely worth being aware of what is going on. So what do you think about what's happening at GM and Cruise? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.